Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott, and this is dedicated to all those spirits out there who believe life is meant to be magical and fun. Here we venture to share the very mysteries of self and reality. My purpose is to help light that spark inside of you, to reawaken your sense of fascination and awe towards the world. I'm going to try to help you hack reality and unleash your potential and open unlimited possibilities of wealth, health, and relationships in your life. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm so happy you get to join me today. I'm doing a review and study notes and analysis of a book called Quantum Jumps, An Extraordinary Science of Happiness and Prosperity. This is one of my favorite books. I have read it multiple times, and it came to me in a time in my life that really helped me deal with reality shifts that I had experienced and gave me a better understanding of how to maneuver through parallel realities. This book is the genius in design and written very well. It's got a huge bibliography and really gives very grounded, physics-based representation of a lot of the ideas that we discuss on the Reality Revolution podcast. This is completely consistent with reality transurfing. It's consistent with Frederick Dodson's parallel universes of self. It is an exploration that is similar to what I talk about in my book, The Reality Revolution. This book is talking about quantum jumps. And once I gained an understanding of this, I think it really saved my life. And I mean that. I had an event where my life was threatened, and the way I dealt with it was partially from an understanding of these concepts and also becoming aware of these things in the future and past. It's really hard to explain. I will dedicate an entire episode on it. But in this episode, I wanted to share what I learned from this book because there's some gold in here. And this is the greatest news of all, is tomorrow I'm doing an interview with the author Cynthia Sue Larson. So you got to check that out. The interview is going to be coming up, and I'll be posting it as soon as we've posted these reviews. And Cynthia Sue Larson is a fantastic writer, and she's basically giving a model of reality transurfing, but she's referring to specific physics studies and gives great examples and exercises, and the science behind it is very good. It's easy to read. If you have a hard time understanding physics, then it's one of the best books because she does a terrific job of explaining the physics behind quantum jumping and how the physics allows you to maneuver through realities in a certain way. And the way she explains it helped me to understand, and I started exploring this before I had crazy events happen to me. And I've used it to find lost items, to go on vacations, to change job scenarios, to have huge investment opportunities come to me. And I've created a quantum jump in a meditation. If you check out there's a previous episode, I have a short quantum jump meditation. I have the transdimensional nexus meditation, which is a longer meditation based on the concepts from this book. And I will definitely do more meditations based on the concepts of this book. And just somebody had to come along and write a synthesis of all the different science and ideas so that it was relatable to people so they could understand. And she did a terrific job of doing that. And so the name of the book is Quantum Jumps, An Extraordinary Science of Happiness and Prosperity. And I plan on reading several sections of this book. She goes into an explanation of what quantum actually means, where it was coined by Max Planck. But the beginning of the book is Welcome to the Quantum Age. And she does a terrific job of outlining what kind of advancements that we're facing and the reality of our current situation right now, that we are entering into a new quantum age, which is what was happening. It's a reality revolution. And this new quantum age it has quantum technologies with science of instant transformation. In a moment, you can become healthier, smarter, more confident, happier, more outgoing, more effective, more energetic, more tenacious, in better relationships with better vision and willpower. In this quantum age, our experience of reality is transformed when we acknowledge we are all connected and that any given moment there exists an infinite number of possibilities. And isn't that what we talk about when we talk about things like the space of variations and all of the different many worlds theories, and in reality transurfing, the alternate space? When making quantum jumps to a reality you enjoy, rather than manifesting or bringing something into your life, you become the change you wish to see in the world. You become it. You just enter into a new lifeline where it's happened. It's not coming to you, and it's not magic. It's a real thing that you do. And there's no wonder that we see all of these books like this. But the way I didn't understand. And so to give you a little more background on what happened to me, I had a home invasion and somebody shot at me and the bullet bounced off my back. But in this experience, it felt like I was experiencing a memory. I had meditated a lot, and I had this general feeling that something was about to happen. And I did all the right things, and it was a very lucky, low probability of survival situation. And afterwards, I experienced a huge reality shifts where everything around me was completely different. People were acting differently. People were talking to me, acting like we were regular friends. There were buildings that appeared out of nowhere, objects that had appeared in my house out of nowhere, as if I'd owned them for a long time. Notes and emails, and I was worried I had some kind of brain damage or I had gone insane. And doctors said I was fine. I was in perfect health. And so I started exploring all of these things. Why did this happen to me? I started exploring all these different forms of meditation and psychology and philosophy, and doing all these different kind of crazy meditations and different energetic work. And one of the books that I came to that helped me to realize I wasn't insane was the first book by Cynthia Sue Larson, which is Realityshifters, which is another review I did, and then this book. And it explained everything, why I had seen these changes, why I wasn't crazy. And then once I started becoming more aware of it, it became so fascinating to me, and I started seeing, and think about it, you guys are seeing references to things like this on the news, on TV, in cartoons, Rick and Morty. It's happening. Why are we getting all these references? It's a part of our total consciousness right now, is the exploration of infinite possibilities. And so she's come along and crafted a book to really explain this stuff. And she goes on to talk about the quantum computers and how they, as we talk about, it's really going to change everything for us. Thanks to the race to build quantum computers, harnessing the remarkable power of quantum behavior on a macroscopic scale, Schrodinger's thought experiment is much more than just an amusing side note in introductory physics classes. The race to build quantum computers is now propelling humanity into a new world of fuzzy logic, probability, and quantum optimization. Rather than relying on the familiar binary bits of zeros and ones, quantum computers depend on qubits, quantum bits, which exist in a blurry superposition of states that can be both 0 and 1 at the same time. Quantum computers will tackle complex problems that our current classical computers can't address, such as weather forecasting problems involving multiple variables influencing one another. Now, the thing that I find interesting is that we are the ultimate quantum computer. And if we trust ourselves and the parts of our bodies that are able to assimilate large amounts of information, we can become a quantum computer in our mind. And I will have a quantum computer meditation coming up soon to analyze the possibilities of that. But we can tell, we can tell that we've officially entered the quantum age when we see how quantum effects are no longer limited exclusively to the realm of the very small. At this extraordinary time in human history, physicists are demonstrating quantum physics behavior at room temperatures with larger than quantum objects. The kind of quantum behavior Albert Einstein once called spooky action at a distance can now be observed at room temperature in objects we can see with the naked eye and hold in our hands. scientists are now observing quantum behavior once thought to be relegated exclusively to submicroscopic realms, such as entanglement, superposition of states, coherence, tunneling, and teleportation in our everyday world at a very human level. New interdisciplinary branches of science are springing forth that invite us to recognize our quantum biological nature, harness the phenomenal power of the placebo, and discover how we can take positive actions to change our reality. Now that's a lot, but that's amazing, and I'm so excited to interview her and see what her thoughts are about transurfing and some of the other interesting concepts that are starting to develop. And she goes on to discuss an example of how quantum computers will change our lives, and it's like a new age, and there will be a new mindset in this quantum age. And she does go back and explain the word quantum and placebo effect very well. And she goes on to explain how we see in nature marvelous ways that the quantum is used. The infinite coexisting parallel universes are actually used in the way that plants grow and animals work. And the quantum age will take us far beyond the information age to a way of living in which we delight in uncertainty, thrive in entanglement, and flourish with an awareness of many possibilities. In the quantum age, we depend upon the fact that many possible realities coexist at every point in space and time. The new quantum age represents a fusion between intuitive and rational understanding of a holistic reality. While the view of entangled, non-local multiverse might at first seem to be completely modern discovery, many ancient indigenous cultures and proponents of the Hermetic worldview have long maintained that humans are born with an innate connection to the unseen essence from which all material things spring forth. By simply asking, how can I experience quantum effects in everyday life, we welcome a new direct experience with creative, energetic experience. And really the goal of this book, the Quantum Jumps, it just presents a radical new paradigm, which is in many ways similar to some of these others, but it's what the paradigm of the reality revolution is, and that we exist in a holographic multiverse in which we can literally jump from one parallel universe to another, supported by distinguished sources from fields of physics, biology, psychology, sociology, and medicine. Quantum Jumps provide you with the means to make an immediate shift to be the change you wish to see in the world. This book is packed with real-life quantum jump examples and scientific research, simple exercises, and profound insights that help you to make the best life it can be. And I can't tell you enough about it. A wealth of practical tools come from this book, and that is simply the first, even the first chapter. And so Experiencing the Quantum Realm is a terrific book. She goes on to explain how can we experience these quantum effects in our lives, and she goes on to kind of explain how quantum particles work, of course, and explains the intrinsic mystery of quantum particles is their dual nature, the wave nature, explained in the double slit experiment that we've talked about many times on the Reality Revolution. And there was fanfare and great excitement in 1986 when New York Times proudly announced physicists finally get to see quantum jump with their own eyes. And she documents that they've been able to witness a quantum jump. And I've talked about this before as well. They've actually seen the blip where the quantum particle jumps from one spot to another. It doesn't slowly move. And they've been able to slow it down and capture the atom is in one state and it moves to another, and you can't picture what it is in between. So this is a quantum jump. And quantum jumping is the process by which a person envisions some desired result or state of being that is different from the existing situation, and by clearly observing that the possibility and supplying sufficient energy makes a leap into that alternate reality. Now, one of the unique understandings that I got from Cynthia Sue Larson when I talk about quantum jumps that is kind of not talked about in reality transurfing, that I integrate into my meditations, I talk about in my book as well, is there is a fundamental component when they see an atom quantum jump, and that is there's a burst of energy. And so energy is a part of the jump. The real powerful quantum jumps require energy. That's why I have some meditations on energy. That's why I do breathing meditations, breathing parts of the meditation before a quantum jump, because if you can amplify your energy, there's a greater chance of the quantum jump happening. The idea behind quantum jumping is that we are living in a multiverse of parallel universes, as we have talked about on the Reality Revolution. Usually these alternate realities have no connection to one another. A quantum jump can be made through a kind of handshake through time and space. So the jump is happening through a handshake in time and space. When you read this book, you understand the physics and the dimensions and the mechanics of a quantum jump, and she takes it to a real world perspective, and that's what's great about it. She explains usually these alternate realities have no connection to one another. A quantum jump can be made through a kind of handshake through time and space, and this handshake through time and space, I believe, can happen through meditation. That's where I've been able to experience it. This connection forms a bridge that allows someone experiencing a quantum jump to physically end up in another reality. The connection is so total that a person can literally walk into another place and time, while to the universes both you still exists. Your awareness of who you are coalesces in one reality, often having the other out of reach and out of sight and out of mind. Imagine with awareness of your reality, which is why we say wake up, become aware. Because keeping your awareness and your memories, but imagine coming into another situation. How would you know? Well, there's a certain process that goes through that. So does any of this seem outlandish? Too far out to be real? Of course there is. It's not like I'm getting 10 million views on these videos. This is an out there type of idea. And the more that you read the science behind it, it's real. And that's why this is one of my purposes, is that for people to understand this concept, because once you understand the concept of quantum jumping, you can have anything you want in your life. Once you understand how the forces try to balance themselves and the way that energy works with different thought structures, you can have anything you want in your life. You can choose any reality you want to live. It's really amazing. I've seen this myself, and I've seen it with multiple people that I've helped coach on this. I think it's one of the most powerful things. And it does seem outlandish. And it may sound like science fiction. And it covers a wide range of experiences, from rather mundane to the truly extraordinary. And as you learn more about the various examples of quantum jumps, you'll likely recognize common experiences from your daily life when you've made quantum jumps without even realizing it at the time. Ultimately, when you really start to understand, you are quantum jumping every second. Some jumps where you actually move into a reality that is different than yours, are a jump, not a walk. You're quantumly walking all the time, shifting in and out of universes that are probably just the same. According to Vadim Zeland's view, which is a little tiny bit different, and I'll explain. Vadim Zeland is saying there is only one material reality. Cynthia Sue Larson is saying she doesn't know, but she's saying the physics behind it, and that this model works either way. So there could just be an information field, or there could be only one material or multiple material universes. I don't think there's any way to know. There are various examples, and some are minor and some are small. Visualize another example of a man preparing for an interview by dressing for success in attire worn by those making the hiring decisions. Or a clinical trial participant with headaches who, upon taking a placebo such as a sugar pill, suddenly have their headache gone. That's an example of a minor quantum jump. And how about that? Just as I'm talking to you and doing this review, it's 11:11 p.m. on August 11th. It's one of those days. So imagine understanding and really starting to focus on this. And as with anything, whatever you put your energy towards, you get more of. So if you want to focus on Legos, you're going to find out all about the different kinds of Legos. Whatever you put your attention to, you get more of. So it's interesting, and I'm giving this as a personal example. When you start to put your attention towards quantum jumping, you get more of them. And if you're open to the possibility of major changes and accepting that you're not insane, you can move into and out of realities where incredible things happen. once you really start to craft how this works and start to understand it, the limitations, the rules, it's incredible. So some quantum jumps can be literally leap to a better future, as seen in real life examples. She gives an example of a woman that leaped to safety from an oncoming tornado, and how it's sometimes similar. Making decisions that seem inconsequential or small at the time, yet they have collective power to entirely transform our lives. A daily decision to spend a few minutes writing, exercising, or practicing music makes a tremendous difference in a person's life over a period of weeks or months. She's giving an example of how minor changes can expand. In most cases, she says, people experience walking into parallel worlds that are nearly but not quite entirely identical to the one they came from. In such cases, it is possible to find something has seemingly shifted in some startling way. A door or a building may appear where one had not been before. Or you might notice your keys are not where you left them, and searching for a while, be surprised to find them in a very odd place, or a place that you'd already searched with no apparent explanation. These types of reality shifts are remarkably commonplace, and she talks a lot about those in her first book, Reality Shifts. So her second chapter is Why Do We Quantum Jump? And she starts off with, how are quantum jumps possible? And she explains, consider the idea that many times, possibly even every time, that you can make a decision or choice, you're actually moving between alternate realities, between parallel worlds. In those alternate realities, there is another possible you who you can connect with so strongly that the conscious awareness and energy that is you literally moves into that other reality. And when feeling so strongly connected to another self in a different reality, it is possible to gain direct access to the knowledge available only in that time and space, and to experience an entirely different self. Now, in my experience, there's a book by Bert Goldman called Quantum Jumping. There is two kinds of quantum jumps in particular. One is where you completely change your life, and one is where you get information from. So imagine exploring a parallel universe where you can talk to somebody else that has information that you need. That is something that is sometimes easier to do, and I've had people that have not found success doing quantum jumps, and when I really demand authentic truth behind it. But I believe if you can build up enough energy before a quantum jump meditation, that you can do it. So what she says is, what makes quantum jumping possible is that, like a quantum particle, every person has the ability to exhibit quantum behavior. While it may seem extremely improbable that you can do the things quantum particles do, such as tunnel through solid barriers or make quantum jumps to other alternate time and places, our current understanding of physics suggests such things are within the realm of possibility and can be expected to occur. Experimental observation at the quantum level change our assumptions about reality as we see that. Quantum particles are not always particles and sometimes exist as pure energy. Some kind of invisible connection exists between entangled quantum particles, so they move together simultaneously with non-local, spooky action at a distance. Simply by observing an experiment, we are affecting it, and unlike classic physics, quantum behavior can only ever be predicted by probabilities. What this all means to someone experiencing a quantum jump is they can enter another parallel reality by experiencing and imagining that they are accessing some kind of bridge, window, or doorway, another world with another self, who has another set of characteristic qualities or skills. With quantum jumping, one makes the leap from simply imagining oneself in an alternate reality to actually being that other self. The success of most all visualization methods, affirmations, faking it till you make it, the placebo effect, and even simply getting out of bed when you don't feel like it, can be attributed to quantum jumping. This is powerful stuff, and it was wonderful to finally find somebody that put this into an easy to understand synthesis with current physics knowledge. She talks about how getting out of bed is an example of a quantum jump, and how placebos are examples of quantum jumps, and even deception-free placebos where people already know that it's a sugar pill have been effective. So you knowing that you're doing it does not negate your ability to do it, because they've shown that people know that they're taking a placebo, it still works. Placebos work for animals, and there's placebos and then there's nocebos, which is the opposite of a placebo. Patients who basically they have found the power of that. And she goes on to explain that placebos are happening more often. She talks about academic placebos helping people with grades, and has some examples of some different exercises of faking it till you make it, visualizing steps to success, which really work. And she then goes into a section on why do quantum jumps occur. And in order to understand quantum jumps, it's essential that we fully appreciate what quantum means. And she explained it is a discrete quantity of energy proportional in magnitude to the frequency of the radiation it represents. And quantum mechanics is defined as the branch of mechanics that deals with mathematical description of the motion and interaction of subatomic particles, incorporating the concepts of quantization of energy, wave-particle duality, the uncertainty principle, and the corresponding principle. So a lot of the stuff that she's talking about, she goes and defines pretty well, which makes it one of the easier ways to understand. But she does go, and one of the things about this book is it's a really good book if you have people that doubt your physics-based or view of consciousness and how physics affects the world and how this stuff really does work. Point at this book. You have one of the most common arguments if I sit and argue with a physicist, and they will always try to denigrate your intelligence, and they will always try to tell me that it's only on the quantum level that these things that we're talking about only happen on the microscopic scale, at the smallest microscopic scale. But it's not true. And she goes through and answers all of the reasons why this isn't crazy, and she gives multiple examples of why it's happening on a larger scale. If you want answers to some of the questions that you may have and doubts about quantum jumping, then you should check out this book. For instance, she says that there are many types of behaviors exhibited at the quantum level that we don't expect to see on the macro scale of our daily lives, mostly because we are unaware of being readily able to observe them with our ordinary senses. Our perception of our world in this new quantum age is about to undergo something on par with the Copernican revolution. In the Copernican revolution of the 16th century, most people worldwide changed their mental model of our solar system from envisioning the sun and planets revolving around the Earth to realizing the Earth revolves around the sun. So imagine there was a time when everybody thought that everything was revolving around the Earth. And then everybody finds out in like a week that that's not true. Everything revolves around the sun. There's going to be a discovery with physics in the same way. When they're going to be announced on TV, they're going to be like, sorry, that your mind creates reality, and we're shifting through parallel realities all the time. It'll be the same level of weirdness. And so we're starting to see observations of quantum behavior on a macroscopic scale of physical objects we can readily observe with our ordinary senses. Such aspects of quantum weirdness include quantum superposition of states, quantum coherence, quantum entanglement, quantum tunneling, and quantum teleportation. Quantum superposition is a fundamental principle in which quantum mechanics by which all possibility for something in material form exists simultaneously in all possible particle states, but whenever measured or observed, the result corresponds to only one of the possible configurations. So when the double slit experiment, when they shoot the light through the double slit, and when they don't look at it and it's a wave, it goes through both, and there's a wave form on the back. But when they observe it, it becomes a particle. And so they realize when they shoot off the light object and it's not being observed, it's in a superposition of state. It's both in a state of wave and in particle. And we as people can be in a state of wave and particle. Both soul and body could be a similar explanation of that. We are in a superposition of states. Maybe we're in more than one place at a time. So all of us could be connected from all of our different universes on some fundamental level. And so She goes on to explain quantum coherence and quantum entanglement, does a really good job of explaining quantum tunneling and quantum teleportation. She gives a full description of John Kramer's transactional interpretation, the handshake between the future and the past, and how that works for communication of particles. She talks about Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation and David Bohm's holographic interpretation of the universe. She documents Niels Bohr's Copenhagen interpretation, which all of them accept on some fundamental level these different variances in reality. And then there's the holographic multiverse interpretation. And after outlining all 4 of those, 1, 2, 5 of those, she basically says quantum jumps can be happening in any of these physics models. So she explains that, when interpreting quantum jumps, it's important to note that all above possible explanations for what's happening on the quantum level end with the word interpretation, reminding us that no physicist yet lays claim to anything akin to quantum law of physics. The best that so far has been achieved are some beautiful possible topographies and elegant mathematical descriptions. It is clear that John Kramer's transactional interpretation of quantum mechanics offers some uniquely helpful insights to assist anyone desiring a quantum jump, as does the relatively new holographic multiverse interpretation. And she says she loves the idea that quantum theories can be combined to create imaginative new interpretations in much the same way that chefs create exotically delicious concoctions such as Thai-flavored Mexican burritos. And I love that. And that's what's going to be exciting, because what she said is that we can take these models and we can mix them together. We can be holographic with multiple universes at the same time, but she does seem to point out John Kramer's transactional interpretation, which is transactional interpretation of quantum physics suggests that handshakes take place between quantum particles in different points in time and space, so there can be communication from past and future. And in Kramer's interpretation, a particle here and now on Earth instantaneously communicates with particle light years away in time and space, as one particle sends an offer wave and another responds with a confirmation wave. And so when we're visualizing and creating the energy to offer ourselves to a new reality. Now, this is my personal opinion, and this is a crazy opinion. I have done some phenomenal meditations where I've done an hour of Qigong and then hung upside down with a vibration machine and tried sensory deprivation tanks with different kinds of Ganzfeld effect machines, where I was able to induce deep states of consciousness. And it's amazing what I believe is possible is that there's some crazy realities out there, but there's a protective mechanism in your brain. So if you landed in, say you're 100 pounds and you landed in a 300-pound person, it's almost like there's a protective mechanism that says, no, it's too different, and it doesn't want you to go insane. So, but imagine if like your best version of you has a totally different body type. And maybe that's what's blocking you. If you just got your body into the same vibration as them, then it would be easier to jump into that reality. Or if we can train ourselves to be okay with the new body, which when you listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's basically doing a quantum jump with many of his meditations. And he always has a period of time, especially for his longer meditations, where you sit and get used to your new body. And so that is one of the most fascinating things. And she is giving some more fundamental information on how these work. And I think that quantum jumps are working when we are talking about waves of fortune in reality transurfing. And she does explain, starting with the understanding that everything is made up of quantum material at its very core. The idea behind quantum jumps is that it's possible to jump to an alternate reality in much the same way that an electron dematerializes at one orbital level and reappears at another. The fundamental principles behind quantum jumping are based upon the behavior of these very smallest particles known in physics as quantum particles. There is a superposition of states in the time of dematerialization in which a quantum particle is between states and is behaving like pure energy rather than like a particle, particularly piece of matter, such as electrons can make energetic leaps from one energetic level to another. People can quantum jump through alternate realities to experience dramatic shifts in a physical reality. Quantum jumps can be envisioned as occurring in a multiverse of many alternate realities. Within each one of these realities exists another possible you that you can just as easily be. Anyone who can relax, clear their mind, and envision being different in some way, such as more successful, funny, healthy, wealthy, or wise, can quantum jump. To initiate a quantum jump requires an open mind that you can experience another reality. It is important that you're able to sincerely desire and feel a connection to another reality, envisioning some way of making a connection with it through a bridge, a door, a window, or a handshake. So you'll notice that that's why I do that in the quantum jump meditations, is I will create a door or a tunnel or some kind of bridge so you can psychically move from one point to another. Your ability to form a strong intention to concentrate and get and stay focused while feeling detached from concerns of daily life, relaxed, open-minded, and emotionally energized are essential. Just as when you shift gears on your car, you must first disengage from one gear before re-engaging in a new gear. You must attain a mindset of detachment in order to release connection to physical realities you have felt locked into with your thoughts and feelings. Please check out my episode on balance and excess potential. She is agreeing with Vadim Zeeland in the importance of reducing and detaching, and that you have to go from one gear to another when you move. Detachment and disengagement gives you a necessary break, she says, from identifying as who you thought you are, so you can experience the ecstasy of feeling relaxed and energized in a state of pure consciousness for a little while. While in such a state of pure consciousness, you become aware that you are capable of sensing all possible realities, and you realize you can emerge from this meditation or lucid dream into the best possible reality of you. Wow. She goes on to give some exercises, imagining the many possible yous, remembering what you desire. Imagine a lamp quantum leaping, and I might integrate some of these in a future meditation. She has an exercise in imagining excellent health, which I've used, which is fantastic, a fantastic way for excellent health. And she also mentions visualizing just new daily activities that you do on a regular basis. Chapter 2 is Why Do We Quantum Jump? And she goes into the full detail of the quantum age and the many worlds in cosmic radiation being proven, and goes on to elaborate many different fundamental theories on why this stuff is happening on a macro scale. One of the most interesting is that she gave an example of how people have different memories of alternate histories, much like the Mandela effect. She said something I was not aware of until I read the book, is that the entangled diamonds, that they have found diamonds that are quantumly entangled and show the same behavior as electrons when they have shown that they are quantumly entangled. And that's incredible. Diamonds were selected because of their crystalline nature. And so it's interesting that diamonds can be quantumly entangled. So she talks about how plants and birds will communicate and use quantum entanglement in the way that they interact, and that plants in their process, the way that they filter the sun and create the perfect photosynthesis, the whole process of photosynthesis is literally an exploration of different possibilities on a smaller scale level, and that it's using a quantum type of system, which is how photosynthesis works, which is amazing and so surprising, because that could be the basis for all life, and it's wonderful. So, and she says birds are assisted by quantum entanglement. Give some examples. Quantum teleportation in our sense of smell, and she has another section that reveals entangled beings, how people can be entangled like twins, and giving different examples of pets being entangled with their owners. And she has a section on why do people quantum jump, and there are many reasons to experience quantum jumping. as there is people in the world, with people from all walks of life enjoying the benefits of making a sudden leap to a new reality, feel like you missed your calling? Quantum jumping allows you to explore your interest and passion and feel you are living a life that more truly reflects your true identity. Want to live a richer life? Quantum jumping can give you a feeling of being more lucidly aware, like being awake inside a dream and finding it's possible to instantly change yourself and your situation. Ready for a fresh start? Quantum jumping can provide you with ways to escape an unpleasant situation in many ways, from miraculous healings to superhuman strength. And some people quantum jump to become happier, healthier, wealthier, or wiser, to find love or like-minded friends, or to rapidly and easily acquire a variety of skills and abilities. Quantum jumping can also come in literally handily in times of emergency, when you can benefit from being teleported to safety, tunneling safely through an oncoming vehicle. And what I recognize happened in this life or near-death experience of mine is that it was like I was quantumly jumped in that moment to another universe where I survived, where I could sense them. I could sense those universes. And I think that's unusual. I think that she does mention there's something more that happens with near-death experiences, and maybe by having, that was one of the only realities where I could survive. I don't know. But it's interesting when you talk to people that have near-death experiences. In many ways, it's like a quantum jump that they experience. And people have used quantum jumping to find lost things, books, keys, and she explains using quantum jumping to find love. It's an interesting section for those out there that are looking for that specific person. Whether you'd like to find that special someone to date or marry, some friend who see you for who you are and are fun to hang out with, it's possible to envision any or all of these things for yourself and jump into those realities. Quantum jumping can help you meet the types of people you most enjoy and do what it takes to improve your relationships once you're in them, by imagining you are seeing your best possible relationship, self-involved in healthy, respectful relationships with people who love being with you as much as you love being with them. If you're already in a romantic relationship but honeymoon feels like it's over, you can quantum jump into a relationship with your current partner where you feel much more compassionate and connected, and you and your partner can instantly feel improvement in love, passion, and intimacy, so both of you can enjoy a second honeymoon. She gives examples of quantum jumping to lose weight, to find career success, improve physical performance, for better health, and for quantum jumping for money. And she has actually a terrific book. Hopefully I'll be able to get to as another one to review, which is called Realityshifters Guide to High Energy Money, where she talks about the science of quantum jumping and reality shifting to get high energy money. And what she's saying is she describes such occasions where this happens, and there's advantage in developing and maintaining a playful, fun sense of enthusiasm when moving into realities where you have the money you need, and taking positive action to do good things in the world helps tremendously too. She has a section on surviving emergencies, and one I highlighted says numerous people have shared stories with her of seeing fast-moving car or truck bearing down on them at a time and place where they had nowhere to go, and then a split second later, either the oncoming vehicle was now on the other side of them without any sign of a crash, or they found themselves instantaneously transported to safety. Go and listen to my interview with Shlomo Friedman, and when he says where he had his big experience when he was driving on the road, this describes a quantum jump very much so. Such first-hand accounts are remarkable to me for so clearly falling into these two general categories. The oncoming vehicle is now safely on the other side, or the experiencer was teleported to safety. And in ways that closely mirror types of quantum behavior, in case of emergency, take a moment to blip out of physical material form into pure energy until it's safe to return or teleport to a safer location. Now, the only way that Shlomo described what happening was that he was neutral. He let go. And so she's saying becoming energy at the same time, becoming in that state of wave. So that's what I felt like happened to me when I had people shooting guns at me and the bullets bouncing off of my back or going right by my eyes where I could see the bullet, and me moving forward and the bullet whizzing behind my back, behind my head. Were 6 or 7 shots were at me, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and some people were robbing my home, and I startled them because they didn't. I was watching the Super Bowl, and the Broncos were playing, and I was slept on the couch, and I don't think they knew I was there, and so it's one of the craziest experiences. But in that moment, that is what happened to me, and that's why I was drawn to interview Shlomo. And then when I saw what she said here, it kind of reminded me of that experience. So I'm saying to anybody out there that has some kind of emergency experience, then I want you to remember this. Blink out for a second. Step back. It's really hard to do when somebody has just shot you, but that is what I literally did. I went up, I saw a kid that had a gun pointed at me, and I shut the porch door, and he shot the bullet at me. And I began to run, but in that moment, everything was okay. It was like I was able in that moment to anchor myself to my reality, to my energy. And I had been experimenting with quantum jumping beforehand, and that's why it appealed to me. So she goes on to explain using quantum jumps to explore your true identity. Check out my identity shifting meditation, where I talk about some of this stuff, but she refers to a book in this section called Future Memory, which I really want to get to as another book for this podcast. It's a wonderful book talking about where people have memories of stuff that happened and then they happen in the future. And that's what happened with me, is I had experienced this before as a future memory. Future memory registers in the mind as if a segment of physical reality was just experienced in a complete entirety, as if the future had unfolded in the present. Future memories are terrific guideposts for helping us select between parallel possible realities, even as they are beginning to unfold before us, welcoming us to walk forward as if on red carpets, rolling out from this decision point right here and now. When we get a glimpse, for example, of a possible reality in which our luggage has been stolen, or in which we find a beautiful ring in a consignment shop, and we sense we've seen these possible futures before, we can begin to play with the knowledge that we've seen and visited these other realities or other possible futures before. She says she's had type of a future memory occur where, while on a trip to Southern California, thanks to being tipped off to possible theft, I was able to prevent loss thanks to future memory of finding a ring in a consignment shop. She found a lovely piece of jewelry she had not otherwise discovered. And so she has another section on quantum jumps to make you feel more spiritual, more lucid, more aware, the process of it. Quantum jumps to teleport ourselves. And she quotes Scientific American saying, in a quantum world, a particle does not just have to take one path, it can take all of them simultaneously. And quantum mechanics is not just about teeny particles, it applies to things of all sizes, birds, plants, and maybe even people. And if you're a physicist out there and you're telling me, no, this stuff is only on the smallest microscopic scale, I beg to differ with you. And when you experiment with this stuff, it may be something other than physics which is going on, but the model of physics helps me to understand. And she goes on to say, one implication of this idea of quantum behavior showing up on a macroscopic scale includes the notion that there is more than one of everything. Sometimes we can expect to see signs of alternate worlds around us. Things and people transform, transport, disappear, and reappear. These signs can clue us into the possibility that we're surrounded by an infinite number of parallel universes that on some level we are experiencing in their totality, which is what happened to me when I could see people transforming, the room transforming and disappearing. And I'm telling you from my experience, and this helps me to understand what happened to me. She has a section, a fairly long one, on learning to allow quantum jumps. And that goes back to what I was saying. There may be a part of you that doesn't want to have a major change in your life. You stay in your house. You don't do anything different. You don't focus on change. And so you're not allowing for major quantum jumps, even if you're making minor ones every day for the same life that you're living. There's a process of allowing involved. And you have to allow these quantum jumps to happen, or your mind will always take you back to the original reality. And so she has a pretty good exercise on free will and true identity perspective, on experiencing the quantum realm, sensing the smallest and largest, on encouraged premonitory visions, and an exercise to ask yourself why you really want a quantum jump. There's a terrific chapter in the book on changing the past and the future, and it goes into the same things that I talk about on the Space of Variations episode. And the idea is that these subatomic and quantum particles are interacting with the past and future, and that there may be a quantum effect of the future affecting the past, and that we can affect the future and the past, as I try to do in the time travel meditation. We have all of our time machine, and so H.G. Wells said in the movie The Time Machine, we have all our time machines, don't we? Those that take us back in our memories and those that carry us forward in our dreams. And we do experience time through these things, and many ways that we live our life now based on the memories that we have. And so there are some ways by changing the past, you may not actually be changing the past, but your response to it, the wave of it that's created you, can be completely changed. You can tune into different realities where some really great things happened if you just change a minor thing in your past. And so that's why she explained that. She gives 3 steps to quantum jumps. The following 3 steps to achieve quantum jumps are meditative in nature, so they tend to work best either whilst in quiet contemplation or in daydreams or hypnotic state. If you have access to a recording device and earphones, you can create your own guided journey through 3 steps, playing it back as you fall asleep each night or during a peaceful time of day when you can close your eyes and completely relax. People who experience miracles are described in Carolyn Miller's book as creating the right conditions for miracles by attaining a detached and peaceful altered state, expecting a positive rather than negative outcome, and focusing on love rather than fear, with a changed perception of what had been viewed as the problems. Carolyn Miller defines a miracle as an instance in which a supernatural power interferes in the natural world, which sounds a lot like a quantum jump or reality shift to me. So the 3 steps are: 1, attain a relaxed, detached, and peaceful altered state. Why does reality transurfing emphasize importance and a better understanding of excess potential? It's because this relaxed, detached state is key to quantum jumping. Feel energized about your visualized positive outcome. Why does Vadim Zeland talk about the wave of fortune? Because you want to feel energized about your visualized positive outcome in a quantum jump. And 1, take positive action in keeping with your own new reality. You're not just sitting and imagining the reality, you move into the script. And when you move into the script, you have to do what the script calls for you to do. You have to do this thing. If you want to be a singer, you need to sing a song. If you want to write a book, if you want to sell a book, you want to write a book. So that are the steps that she gives for her steps for quantum jumping. And she goes into detail for each of these steps, how to attain a detached and peaceful state of mind. And she does mention, if you experience the multiverse like a quantum particle, the state of detached receptivity feels like letting go of your material nature as you no longer fixate on any given point in space-time and instead spread yourself out in the form of pure energy waves across all possible realities. In such a state of being, pure energy, you can envision all possible futures and pasts and quickly see where each choice ends up, which is what I'm trying to do in a lot of my meditations. Can you imagine that you and everything and everyone around you exists in a superposition of states? Can you imagine if they announced on the news tomorrow and they said, well, we now know that everybody lives in a superposition of states. You live in multiple different places at the same time, you just don't know it. When we achieve a peaceful, detached state of mind, it's analogous to the kind of superposition of all possibilities the majority of physicists agreed to is true of everything, not just tiny quantum particles. It is possible to contemplate that we can make better decisions when remembering that a multiverse of many possible worlds, everything can happen and actually is happening somewhere. And in order to arrive at a preferred reality, we must first disengage and detach from our daily struggles by taking a meditative break in the peaceful feeling of a calm where we experience at the center of all options. Quantum jumping is very much like shifting gears. When we change gears while driving with a car with a stick shift, we move out of one particularity, such as gear, by first deselecting. Her step 2 is feel energized about the visualized income. And She goes on to explain that in magnetic MRI scans, neuroscientists have begun to explain a mechanism to account for why imaginary practice can be so extraordinarily effective. And she talks about and gives examples of why visualizations work with MRI scans. And she says, picture yourself moving through a new daily activities in your most desired life. Imagine your future self is reaching a hand out and back to help make it easier for you to think, feel, speak, and behave more in accordance with the person you'd most like to become. Notice what is most noticeably different and pay attention to how you can start behaving more like this possible future self. Even doing the simplest little action in the direction of living true to your dreams makes a huge difference. And then step 3, taking positive action. To experience positive, memorable, meaningful quantum jumps, you must maintain a lucid state of fearlessness and love while taking positive action in keeping with reality of your dreams. Your feeling of love must be genuine for the best results, rather than merely doing what has to be done out of obligation, duty, or expectation. Those are 3 pretty powerful steps. I believe there's more steps to it, and I talk about it in my book. But I think the key is the energy. If you really bring in a lot of energy in your body by breathing exercises, qigong exercises, 5 Tibetans, and then you attempt a quantum jump, it's amazing, and you can see some pretty fantastic results. She explains getting started in quantum jumps. In truth, you've been quantum jumping without realizing it for quite some time, which is true. She goes on to explain and give examples of evidence of quantum jumps through parallel worlds. And she has a survey that shows signs of quantum jumps, and where it's interesting when you talk to people, you think this stuff is crazy. But she has a survey on here of just 395 people, and more than half of them, there was all these different reality shifts. That synchronicities, finding parking places, and then reality shifts of things being lost and weird things happening, things that were noticeably unusual, different time slowing down, time speeding up. People mentioned a lot of different things and of the recipients. And she did a larger study, and a whopping 93% of all respondents reported currently noticing synchronicity and coincidence in their daily life. And 90% have seen time slow down or speed up. 83% report they often find parking spots where and when they need them most. And it seems like it's been that way for me. Try this trick next time you go park somewhere. Just put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and think, I need the best parking spot. I've been doing this, and I've been finding some great spots, so... and then she goes on to say the next most commonly reported type of reality shift, which is 69%, sometimes putting things down in one place and finding them in another. So we have examples of these things. She has a whole list of different survey questions and the differences in both and how they've increased. And then she goes on to explain that quantum jumps can be done to change the past, which is what I'm trying to do. In my time travel meditation, I might do another one here in the future, but if you go back and change the past, this is something that Frederick Dodson mentions in Parallel Universes of Self, one of the best books ever, and in that one as well, that you can go back and do these jumps and change the past. She, as she did with reality shifting, talks about lucid dreaming and how the process of lucid dreaming can aid in these reality shifts because you gain control. And she has a story in here of receiving help from a positive future, and a ton of great exercises from gratitude. The heaven on earth exercise is wonderful. Experience being a pure consciousness. These are things I've integrated and will continue to integrate into all my meditations. And then there is a great chapter on different quantum jump experiences. Some of them are fascinating, and it's one of the reasons why you need to check the book out. Everything from people reducing health to finding the love of their lives to weird telepathy experiments, and it's pretty interesting. And there's all of these stories will tell you that some of them are impossible to believe, car crashes and different things, all of these crazy jumps, and it's pretty amazing. So, and she has a chapter on get a quantum jump start, and really emphasizes enjoy pleasant distractions, smile and feel happier, and the positivity of leading a happier life, striking a power pose. She gives some really good examples of the research on as if you act as if, the kind of changes that you can make. Like holding your body in a power pose can give you confidence. She's associating this with these quantum jump theories, that if you act as if, what may be happening is maybe you're not quantum jumping, but you're starting to act as if, and there's still a positive result. And so she goes through the science of what the studies say on acting as if. Reduce pain by seeing your healthiest self. Reduce pain by hugging yourself. Some great examples of physical actions and acting as if, which would go with any kind of model. If you're jumping into a parallel universe and you start acting like this other universe, you're acting as if too. And it would be nice to have the awareness of both. And eventually you kind of just forget we're at the old reality and you're in the new one. She has some great examples of quantum jumps in daily life and emphasizes mindfulness as a way of enhancing our ability to quantum jump, and recommends creating your own customized meditation. It's something I recommend you do, and I do offer the creation of meditations customized for you as well. But be more agreeable for greater contentment. Be open to new experience and stay mentally sharp, she recommends. And there's some other examples, quantum jumping out of injury, and there's a section on quantum jumps with money. And the end of the book was a great question and answer session, and we're almost done. But some of these questions were really specific about quantum jumping, and they're questions that I noticed I've gotten, and that people like Sunny and Quasi that talk about reality transurfing on their boards have gotten questions. Maybe they're worded a little bit different, but this is what she is saying. So somebody asked, I'm pretty sure I quantum jump, but not quite sure. Is there something that you can explain to me how you know for sure? And she says, noticing significant changes in oneself, others, or one's surroundings can provide you with validation that you've made a quantum jump. Sometimes there isn't much discernible evidence of a quantum jump, particularly if the jump mostly affects your emotions and confidence or other internal states. Sometimes the evidence of a previous reality vanishes during the jump in such a way that X-ray photographs of a previously broken bone that is now suddenly healed, for example, can no longer be found. Somebody asked, do you have to know how to do this to make it happen? She says it helps to know it's possible to make a jump to another reality, and that such things happen often. The simple facts that the placebo effect is increasing in its effectiveness, and even when people know they are just taking the placebo, are strong indicators that most people really need is permission to know a huge positive change is possible. They asked, could a quantum jump actually happen the first time you try? And she says, yes, you can absolutely experience a quantum jump the first time you try. Most people find it helpful to know that reality shifts and quantum jumps happen infrequently in lots of ways, so reading real-life first-person accounts of such reality shifts and quantum jumps will definitely help. Somebody asks her, can you help? I feel I've tried everything and I can't quantum jump. What's the most easiest and effective way? And she says the easiest way to quantum jump is to do something in keeping with the reality you're jumping to. That's not a meditation. That's just doing something in keeping with the reality you're jumping to. For example, if you wish to be happier, smile for no reason. It's also important to be in a relaxed and energized state of mind, focused on your preferred reality. Such a mindset, in combination with believing you are in your desired reality while doing things in keeping with staying there, helps ensure successful jumps. Somebody says, I've noticed that sometimes I'll make a jump to a new reality, but when things revert back to the way they were. Sometimes that happens a few times. Is it possible to lock into a particular reality when you jump to one you like? That's a great question. So experiencing alternate realities indicates the additional energy is required in order to ensure a particular reality stays selected. I repeat, Experiencing alternate realities indicates that additional energy is required in order to ensure a particular reality stays selected. Physicists observe electrons make quantum jumps from an initial ground state to an excited state when they absorb energy from photons to make that jump. These jumps occur instantaneously, as suddenly the electron is now in a new orbit around the atomic nucleus. Because that excited state is not stable, at some later random moment the electron may fall back to its ground state for us to experience lasting quantum jumps in our lives. We need to become and stay energized so we don't experience a reversion back to our previous state. Doing things to increase your energy, such as skipping, laughing, smiling, meditating, practicing Qigong, and eating and sleeping well can help you lock in your quantum jumps. And that's what I've been trying to say. Somebody asks, I really need your help. I'm experiencing something strange. Since quite recently, seem to be manifesting things kind of instantly. I don't know how it happened, but most unthinkable has. Therefore, I am now not sure whether it is a quantum jump, a manifestation, or if I'm losing my mind. My life has got somewhat complicated as I now have an old love in my life after 22 years. In this alternate reality I'm living in, or I'm going crazy. She keeps on going, but she says, all manifestation can be viewed as being in the result of quantum jumps to other universe of possibility that already exist. An instant manifestation is akin to making a quantum jump. Sometimes when one makes a jump, more than one reality shift might be observed in the leap into another parallel reality. Since we are constantly moving through parallel universes with every decision and choice we make, you could say with each new decision we arrive in a new reality, parallel reality. And when you notice something like a change in your voice that provides you with further confirmation that you're in a new reality, just in case you were beginning to question your sanity, often there aren't lots of signs that you've made a jump, but rather small things you may or may not really notice that taken together provide you with unmistakable sense of being in a whole new reality. Some more questions that are answered, but she really does answer talking about all kinds of different things with quantum jump. Let me see if what if a person wanted to use quantum jumping to become another Hitler? Is that possible? In theory, one can use quantum jumping to change their life in any way they choose. She said, yes, people can make any kind of jump they wish, including choices that others might later regret. This is why I recommend people set an overriding intention of wishing the best for all concerned rather than pushing forward with what seems to be a good idea at the time. Somebody asked her about the butterfly effect, and she does acknowledge that every tiny decision can make big differences, but you can continue to make the right decisions. And then she says, somebody asked, I would appreciate if you give me points on what I need to do in order to quantum jump. Does one have to meditate? Are there other methods? So she says, meditation is a great way to quantum jump, but there are other methods. It's possible to feel grateful for what you desire as a memory of something that's already happened. This is much like daydreaming, with the important difference that you'll be feeling the relaxed, happy memory of something having occurred rather than connecting with the possible futures in which you're still hoping for something to change. The main idea behind making quantum jumps is that in order to live a different life, all you need to do is first imagine it, then meditate silently and quietly until you attain a state of being detached from thoughts and feelings. When you sense a new connection to another possible you, living the life you'd prefer, immerse yourself naturally into that new state of being, and voila, you've made a quantum jump. Likely, life will feel like pretty much the same with similar daily activities, and at any time in doubt or worry whether a change has occurred, return to a meditative state of quiet and connect with the new reality as you are selecting for yourself. Somebody points out that Abraham Hicks says that quantum leaping is a bad idea. So I wanted to read this, because Abraham Hicks does recommend that you probably shouldn't be exploring parallel realities. Live in your reality now. What I think Abraham Hicks is trying to do is not complicate things, even though a lot of the recommendations are exploring through parallel realities. It's a simplified and better way, and it's pure. So I don't think there's a contradiction, but this is what she says. It's important to set the intention to select overriding intentions that realities you jump to will match energy frequencies you can hold and maintain. Working with one's high self with super consciousness helps ensure success rather than going with what ego wants seems to indicate we think we desire. When she says quantum leaps are never a good idea, she's skipping the concept that reality shifts are happening all the time. We see millions of shifts each day, millions of miracles, usually without noticing it. We don't notice them precisely because the energy does match, so leaps go unnoticed. Reality shifting masters, such as shamans, yogi, and masters, can easily maintain the energy levels required for all kinds of miraculous shifts. It takes time to build up the energy levels required. I can agree with the art of allowing the alignment process that it takes time for most people through meditation to get where they'd love to be. Which is a great answer. And you may not agree with her, but that's interesting that she's had that concept. And I might ask her that question again on the interview tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. And there's questions about retrocausality and tons of other questions. And as you can see from the stuff that I've gone over, this is a wonderful book. And there's terrific stuff in it. And I highly recommend it. And so check out the interview. It'll be posted very soon. My interview with Cynthia Sue Larson. And I'll try to talk to her about all of these concepts. It has been a gigantic pleasure. It's always wonderful that you join me. If you have any need for coaching, go to my website at advancedsuccessinstitute.com. All episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com. You can email me at media@advancedsuccessinstitute.com. It is always with great joy and gratitude that I share my knowledge with you. Please join The Reality Revolution on my Facebook page. I plan lots of nice things for people that are members of the Facebook group. So if there's anything else that you need, let me know. It's always a joy, and welcome to The Reality Revolution.